Hello, good evening if you're watching from Britain, good afternoon if you're watching from the States or anywhere in the world. This is Crossy's Corner, and I've got a very special July the 4th Independence Day guest, Dani Hansen, USA's Paralympic star, lead athlete for Hydrow. Dani, it's fantastic to have you on Crossy's Corner.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's just great to get to talk to you.
That's brilliant. You look quite chilled, it being a holiday today, but we can get into that just shortly. It'd be nice just to say a little word about thanks to our sponsors, Ludum, who support Crossy's Corner. Ludum's a training management tool, and you get loads of performance analysis too for coaches or training groups. It's a really great application. You can start a 30-day free trial by visiting ludum.com. And I think the messages will appear on screen during our chat.
Cool.
So, Dani, I guess today is a much needed day off for you.
Yes, a nice day off, a good Sunday, good 4th of July. getting to hang out with some friends and make some steak today.
Yeah. So you got a barbecue later on, have you?
Yep. I went and got some steak from the local butcher shop, and gonna have that today. Watch some fireworks.
Oh wow, the fireworks come along in the evening. Yeah, we have fireworks on November the 5th, which is kind of really cold, and it's a very different day to July the 4th. What's the weather like for you over there?
It's actually pretty perfect today. It's like 70 degrees. It's still humid because I am in Boston, but it's nice. It's cooler. It's cooling off. It's been pretty hot the past week, but rained yesterday, and now it's feeling kind of nice outside.
Now tell us why you're in Boston. I might have an idea, but just tell us specifically why you're in Boston at the moment, Dani.
Yeah, sure. So I actually live here all year long because I work for Hydrow, but also I'm here because we are training here. The U.S. Paralympic mixed coxed four is training out of Boston right now. So.
Wow, is that you train on the Charles? Where'd you boat from?
Yeah, we do. We train on the Charles.
Oh.
And same river the head of the Charles is raced on.
Yeah. And which boathouse are you currently residing in?
We row out of Community Rowing Incorporated, the Harry Parker Boathouse, CRI, in Brighton. I think it's actually in Brighton. Yeah, on the river.
Yeah. Now you must be getting quite excited because the Paralympic Games. I know the Olympics. There's all these things about sort of 30 days to go, 25 days to go. I think I saw something. Maybe it was today that 20 days to go to the Olympics, but the countdown to the Paralympics is really underway, isn't it?
Yeah. So we got like about a month and a half before we leave. Or before we get there. So it's getting close. It's getting close. And I remember, a year and a half ago when it was like, it's going to happen this year. And so it's like, it's finally happening. So it feels a little surreal still, but.
Yeah. How much did the delay upset you, Dani?
I feel like I just changed a lot of the way that I was training and preparing, because I realized that it was going to be kind of a different ball game this year with the pandemic and everything happening. It becomes probably more of like a mental thing than anything. And so just making sure that I was doing everything that I could to deal with like stress and even stress that, isn't super in your face. So you don't like notice what's happening, but just really dealing with that and prioritizing that so that your training can resume healthily and not having any upsets. That's kind of how I dealt with it, was that I just kind of switched up the priorities there.
Yeah.
And it worked. It helped a lot.
So are the four of you, or the five of you with your Cox, I guess, are you permanently based in Boston?
Not permanently. We do come here for selection camp, but there are two of us that live here year round. And then the rest of the crew, depending on if they're in school or if they do have a job or if they have a training center that they're comfortable in, they'll train there, and then we come together in the summer times.
Okay. So how long's this crew that you're in for the games in Tokyo been selected? When was that selection happening?
That selection happened at the beginning of June.
Oh, so you were seat racing till quite recently.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how exciting was that process?
That was pretty exciting. That was definitely, seat racing is always very fun. Yeah, I'm a big fan of seat racing. I've always liked seat racing since my college days. Yeah, it's just like pressure is on, and that's like where I thrive. Like in the moment, obviously it's very stressful, but I'm a big fan of seat racing, and yeah, it was really fun to get to have everyone come over and do selection camp, and then have the team named and go through everyone's selection process and see everyone go through that beforehand and come out the other side. That was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. And was that the selection camp just for the PR3 Cox 4, or did you have other Paris selection races going on at the same time?
We have that selection camp that I'm talking about was specifically for this boat. Also, sorry, I have construction going on. They just knocked down the house next door.
You're kidding.
I mean, no, I'm not kidding. And I remember coming home and I was like, oh, the house is gone. So there's construction happening if you hear anything over there. Yeah, the selection camp was just for the boat that's going to Tokyo. So there's other boats that have trial process here. And the world 2021 World Championship selection camp happened afterward as well.
Oh, are you going to that as well?
No, not right now.
How come?
I'm just putting the blinders on, heading to Tokyo, going all in there.
Yeah. Now it's really interesting, I think, to look at you heading to Tokyo and what you're actually aiming for, because I know you've won a whole bunch of silver medals in the World Championships and one gold medal in the PR3 pair.
Yep.
I think in 2018 when you doubled up. But what's your target going into Tokyo?
I mean, gold. Gold is always the target.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. You can't go to a race and not be trying to win, you know? Yeah. So of course that's the target, always.
Well, let's get into your career and some of the races. You started representing the USA back in 2014, which seems a long while ago now, 7 years.
Yeah. It is a long time ago. I remember just that being the most wild experience, because I was, it was like my second year rowing. Yeah, that was just crazy. And I was like, someone had told me, I think you qualify with having Erb's palsy. I think you qualify for a Paralympic team. And I called my mom and I told her, and we figured it out. We emailed Ellen Minsner, who's now the director of para rowing here, and did a 2K. And my teammates just stood behind me the whole time screaming in Seattle.
Wow.
And then and then I got invited and I went and I made it, and it was really crazy. And yeah, that was really cool, because I was like, wow, I'm on the US team. That's pretty neat.
It is sensational. And just rowing for a couple of years. So you rowed at University of Washington did you row as a freshman there?
I did. I actually ended up having a red shirt my freshman year because medical red shirt, just because I messed up my knee and I had to have knee surgery. So I was unable to row my freshman year. But I did sit in the launch with my coach every practice and asked a million questions. I'm surprised he didn't just like push me off the boat, because I asked him so many questions like all the time, because I was like, well, if I can't row, then I can watch and I can learn as much as possible. So
you must have been so motivated. Did you go to Washington just to row? Did you know you were going to row when you got there, or did somebody look at you and say, you look like a nice tall woman, you'd fit into the team?
Kind of both. I did get recruited to go there, but I had not rowed before I went. So my mom actually rowed at University of Washington as well.
Are you kidding?
No, yeah, she won a couple of national championships while she was there, and she's a total boss. But we went. I just was trying to play a sport in college. I played volleyball, basketball, track and field, and softball in high school, and I wanted to play a D1 sport, and I really wanted to play volleyball. And actually, due to my condition, my Erb's palsy, a lot of D1 schools wouldn't look. D3 schools, maybe not. Yeah. And then I was like, I just want to play a D1 sport. And my mom was like, well, why don't we go look at my old school, since we're in the area. We were in Seattle. And so we took a tour of the athletic department, and her old coach, Bob Ernst, gave us a tour. He still worked there, and he gave us a tour. And then he was asking me all these questions, and he was like, what's your GPA? How tall are you? What sports do you play? All these things. And then at the end, he was like, well, do you want to row here? And I was like, okay. Like, I didn't believe him. I was like, there's no way someone's going to recruit me to do something I've never done before. They won't even recruit me for something I've done before. So, but then he did. And best 5 years of my life. It was awesome. So, wow. So I ended up going there, signing and going there, and showing up my first day with the intent to do the best I can at something I'd never done before. So it was fun.
That's a fantastic story. And you're doing this with Erb's palsy. I've got the faintest idea of what Erb's palsy is, but can you explain it just so can understand it better, what it actually means for you?
Yeah, of course. So Erb's palsy is typically a birth injury. So as you're coming out of the birth canal, something can happen, and that usually the doctor needs to pull on your head instead of your shoulders. And then that ends up damaging the brachial plexus, which is a group of nerves in your shoulder. And that can cause partial or full paralysis of your arm and shoulder. And so mine was fully paralyzed on my birthday. And they told my mom, they're like, yeah, she'll never use her arm. It's just paralyzed. Really? It's just how it is. And my mom was like, no, she's gonna figure it out. And they're like, okay. And so my mom, she studied kinesiology in school and was like, I think I need to move it around. I think I need to do this. I think I need to do this. And really, really did a lot for me when I was a baby that I wasn't able to do, which allows me to move my arm a lot more now. And I'm still working on it. I do physical therapy and still try to, keep as much movement as possible, because, if you stop moving it, then it can get stiff again and all that stuff. So, it's partially paralyzed. Yeah.
So how does it affect you in the boat, Dani?
So it's so funny, because when I actually rowed at University of Washington, I learned to row as a starboard because I assumed that my left hand, which is my affected arm, could be better as like my feathering hand, because I wouldn't have to pull so much with it. And I think usually that's the case for everyone else that I know who rows with Erb's palsy, which I met in Rio and from being a part of Para, which is really cool. They usually have their affected arm as their feathering hand, their inside arm. But then when I was at University of Washington, my arm, I started getting all this, like, I think it's called neuropathy, just a lot of bad sensation in my arm from using it that way. And I actually ended up getting temporarily removed from the team because they were worried that they would be liable for anything that would happen to me. And I was like, no, it's fine. I can do it. I can do it. And they're like, I don't know. And I was like, how can I stay on the team? And they're like, well, you can go see a neuropsychologist, and if she says you're allowed to stay on the team, then you can. And I went, I saw the doctor, did a bunch of tests, and I said, listen, I can row the other side and I'll be fine. And they were like, okay, well, if you have any other feelings like this ever again, you have to let us know immediately. And I was like,
Yeah.
And so, so I went back on the team and I started rowing port. And now I use my affected arm as my outside arm. And it's difficult to pull in all the way on that side. So it's like I use my outside arm at the catch, pulling through to right about here. And then I use my inside arm to pull the rest of the way. So it's just kind of just like a little bit of balance there.
So your technique's got to be perfect to hit that right, presumably.
Yeah, I do. I'm big on technique. That's like, I can't make a training plan for myself. Weightlifting, I need somebody, but when it comes to technique, I'm like, I am all about the details, and I feel like I'm that way with a lot of things in life. Like, take care of the details, and then big picture will fall into place. Like, so technical detail. That's definitely something that I pay a lot of attention to. Yeah.
Now, what is it that makes you want to, or what is it that qualities do you have that puts you in the stroke seat of the boat?
So I've only been in the stroke seat of the boat 2014, 17, 18, and 19. This year we're figuring out the lineup still. We don't know what it is, but
it'd be interesting to talk through. So because I'm really interested in the mixed in the PR3 mix for, because obviously with male and female athletes, how you choose who sits where in the boat is kind of fascinating, really.
Yeah,
so
it is. Yeah. And oh, sorry, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, how does that work?
I mean, it just depends on like the lineup. Like I know that I think I'm one of the first females to be in the stroke seat for that event, and to be there for a while. And I know it's like, I don't know if there's some like stigma behind that or what, but I think it just depends on, hey, like what's the fastest lineup? Like, what is it? If it's me in the stroke seat, then that's what it is. If it's me in the 2 seat, that's what it is. And like, I'm all about finding the fastest lineup no matter where I'm sitting. My coach, she used to say, any boat, any seat, anytime. And that's definitely something that she passed on to us. And I think about that often. And like, I don't have, I think it's easy for some people to have kind of a little bit of an ego sitting in the stroke seat,
just a tiny bit.
Yeah. But I definitely don't feel like that's super productive, to have, or effective, to have a bigger ego in that seat. So I just like to sit where I'm told and do what I'm told. And if the coach wants you to stroke like this or stroke like that or change your stroke, whatever, if you can do that immediately, that's the biggest thing. But the funniest thing is the first time I ever did stroke a boat was in 2014, which was my first world championship. And we actually ended up, my coach changed that lineup the day before we left Amsterdam. So I was in the 2 seat all summer. And then I don't know why we did this, but she just did a seat race where she, did like 1,000 meters, and then switched me in a stroke seat, did another 1,000-meter piece. And she was like, all right, we're keeping it like this. And we rode it home, and then we went to Amsterdam the next day. And I was like, okay, this is what it is. So if she thinks I could do it, then why should I not think I could do it,
Yeah. And you ended up with a silver medal then, I think.
We did. Yeah, we did.
Was that, how much of a surprise was that, or how much did you expect it?
I mean, I always go into a race thinking I'm going to win. I do. I'm like, we're going to win today. Like that's how it's going to happen. So, I mean, I did feel very humbled though, because I was like, this is my first world championship and I have a medal. Like, that's awesome. Like I felt like that's really awesome. And, I felt humbled a little bit and pumped because I was like, well, how much speed can we get if we continue this, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you've rowed every year in the team since then, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Wow. One thing that just occurred to me actually, which I thought I must ask before I forget to ask, are the guys the same gearing, the same measurements on the spread and the blades as the women in the crew, or does that vary?
I think that usually varies, and I think that's different country to country as well. But I don't know if there's ever a boat where the men and women have the same rigging. Yeah, I think it's usually different, male versus female. But it also depends. Like if you have, like there was one year in 2017 where both of the women in the boat were ports, and both of the men were starboards. So it depends on what you have, So. I think that was highly abnormal.
That's highly. I don't remember that. I know you came in with a silver medal there, and I think the British 4-1. But
yes.
that's really unusual to have two women on the same side.
Yeah,
on the same side.
It was kind of cool. I mean, we were able to
keep the boat straight.
Yeah, we were able to hold our own that year, and
whoa.
Yeah, that was really cool, actually.
Why? How did that come about that you rode in that order? Do you remember why?
I mean, we just had, I think, other girl in the boat that year. Her name is Catherine Smith, a very good friend of mine, and very, very cool. And I think we both just were able to apply pressure technically, so that it we could, if we were so inclined, pull the boat around a little bit. And so, so we just kind of were able to apply pressure, have the right watts, produce what we needed to produce on that side in order to keep it up. That's just,
We've got our first question. The viewers watching, hi to everyone watching this live. Martin Heidman wanted to know if there are any rivalries emerging between international crews. I know it's been a while. Oh yeah, go on. Tell us about that.
Of course. Oh yeah. I think it's fun. It's always fun though. There's not any negativity at all. I think just with obviously with the gold medal crew who's held the gold medal for so long, the GB4, of course. Yeah, everyone's trying to beat them.
Yeah,
us included. Yeah, but it's all good fun. I think it's really cool to have to race people who you just want to beat so much. It's that much more motivating. We're all just competing and trying to make each other, we're making each other faster and making the sport better overall. So I think there's really no losing, when you have everyone doing things like that and pushing each other. I think it's really cool.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And I know I don't know, I can't remember your result in 2015, but I know you're only racing 1,000 meters. I know that.
Yeah.
In 2016, you hit the first mark in front, the 250 in front, the 500 in front. It was a pretty close race, wasn't it?
In 2015?
In Rio.
Oh, in Rio. Yeah, Rio. Oh man. Yeah, I think we lost that year by 3 seconds, I believe. But 2015 we lost by 0.26.
Whoa.
So that was a really close one. That was fun. That was a little heartbreaking, but that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you lead at any time in that race, Dani?
I think we've led multiple times, just off the start. Not every year, of course, but I think we have had a few times where we've been leading at the beginning of the race. Yeah.
Wow.
Just got to hold on to it, Martin.
Yeah. And how did you manage the change when the sport, the para sport changed from rowing from 1,000 meters to 2,000 meters? How easy was that for you guys?
I mean, all of us have rowed in college and raced 2,000 meters. So I think a few of us were like, well, it's about time. You know what I mean? And I think I definitely had a little bit of attitude there where I was like, yeah, like that's how it should be. Like we're all capable of doing this. And it's awesome that the rest of the world is kind of catching up with that belief in us as well, and that understanding that we can race 2,000 meters. And it's awesome that has now changed for sure. Yeah. And I'm pumped to be able to race in the first Paralympic 2K. like that's so cool. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah. What is the atmosphere like on the para team when you go to a para games? How would you describe it?
I think it's very different actually between the World Championships and the Paralympics. So that's something that was surprising to me, and something that I did talk to my teammates this year about. Is in the World Championships it's combined, so the open team and the para teams are together. Spectators for both are all there. It's popping. There's like a million boats. Like people are walking all over the place. You know, if you lose somebody in the crowd, you got to go find them. It's a little bit more lively. When I went to Rio, there are not as many. Obviously it's just para teams, and then on top of that, there's not as many para boat classes that are there because they're not all Paralympic boat classes. So you really cutting down the amount of people that are in the practice area by a lot. So it's funny because it seems like it's a more of a high pressured event, but the environment doesn't reinforce that feeling. Because it seems like there's less people and less going on when you get there. So it's like this kind of weird like feeling where you're there and you're like, oh, there's like part of you that's like, oh, this is such a big deal, and there's another part of you that's like, no, what's going on? This is very low key and calm and quiet. So it's like it's like a weird mentality to just like find yourself in sometimes while you're there.
That's a really interesting adjustment to make, because I think one of the things that's been great is with the para athletes together with the national team athletes coming in and making one team. That's been something that's been really striking. How welcoming paras have been to the sort of Olympic boat class athletes and vice versa. It seems from what you're saying to have worked really well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't know how it is on every country, but I know that with the U.S. team, like we all talk to each other, you know, and wish each other luck. And I mean, a lot of my teammates, you know, from University of Washington are on the open Olympic team, and we're all pumped for each other. And yeah, it's very cool. And it definitely feels like one. It definitely feels like one team, because it is, you know, Team USA.
Wow. Yeah. So, how much do you guys use sports psychologists to help you prepare for events like this, and what sort of input do those guys have to your preparation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what everyone individually talks about, but I think everyone does have a sports psychologist that they talk to, and if not, then they have access if they do want, you know, 1 or 2 sessions here and there, especially after the pandemic. You know, things can get a little bit more fuzzy, you know, in your head. And yeah, I think just like the main thing is, hey, what are you struggling with? And what's your, you know, ideal outcome? And then you just figure it out together. And if you're not struggling with anything, then if you're not struggling with anything, then preparing for what could be difficult when you get to Tokyo or something like that. So I think just like a lot of that has been helpful for our team.
Yeah. So what are I know that your boat is up there going for gold medal. What are the chances of the other US para boats in Tokyo, do you think?
I mean, I think we're looking pretty strong. I think everyone, I mean, as spread apart as we are across the country, I think our coaches this year like did a phenomenal job. Specifically, we have a coach, Beth Knoll, who is just like amazing. She, you know, was able to kind of reach out and make sure everyone had what they needed. Ellen Minsner did the same, like just really reaching out, making sure everyone had what they needed to do in order to go fast, like despite the pandemic. And that's like that's just like amazing to me that we have people able to kind of put themselves out there like that and put out that much energy in order to make sure that everyone's able to go fast. And I think that worked out because I think that our team this year is looking pretty speedy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And of course, it's good to be on a team where, people have got shots of the A final and medals. That's quite motivational for the whole team. One thing that struck me in terms of making the sport, assuming the sport is under some pressure or some threat in terms of the Olympics, one of the things that parasport's got going for it is the fact that it's mixed rowing. I wonder what your thoughts are for Olympic class boats of introducing mixed rowing into that, or I don't know how it might play with the coastal. I don't know if coastals are mixed as well.
Coastal is mixed.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah. I think it is mixed. That's cool. First of all, I've been in like a open ocean boat like a couple times.
Have you?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Yeah, I actually with Hydrow I got the chance to row around the Statue of Liberty in New York, and it was super wavy, and it was awesome. It was very cool. But I mean, I think that'd be cool, like to have Olympic class boats that are mixed. I think that will be very interesting. I do believe that it is a completely different sport when you have it mixed, just because you have the college programs, university programs that are specifically male, female, and you get into these like habits and into these headspaces, and then you have to literally break like these team stereotypes and come together and figure out like how to have the male team mentality and the female team mentality kind of mixed together. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting for sure. And it's fun to figure out. There's obviously some challenges at times, but I think that if you can figure it out, it becomes really cool, because it's such a unique combination for sure.
So could you give us any examples of any adjustments you might have to make because you're rowing with men, or any adjustments that the men might have to make because they're rowing with women?
I believe sure. I mean, I believe I'll be generalizing a little bit, of course.
Yeah.
So no offense, but I think mostly, men on average tend to produce more watts in the boat, where women can, on average, be a little bit more technically mindful. Yeah. And so kind of bringing those things together is pretty fun. And it also like introduces you to a new mentality. Like, I went to University of Washington and we all haul on it, just like put as much power as we can behind the blade. But I do think it's like a different level of doing that when you see some guys in the boat and how they approach the stroke. And then I think definitely our the guys can get a different perspective on like how to think about technique. Like, how do you think about it? Like it can be graceful and powerful at the same time, and mixing those things can create like a nice finesse and some really good boat feel and boat speed. So it's pretty fun. Yeah. It's like science.
It sounds like a really interesting job for the crew and the coach to put a successful unit like that together.
Definitely.
In a way, it adds another layer on that the Olympic boat classes don't have.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And then also like just everyone having their own adaptation they're dealing with on the para side can create some like interesting like balance techniques and stuff like that to make sure the boat is sitting well, especially if you have someone in the boat who has a prosthetic. That's something to think about, and like how the boat's going to feel balance wise, like moving up the slide versus on the drive, and wind and stuff like that. If you have an injury or an adaptation that affects your ability to feather the blade, then headwinds can be really challenging in those cases. If you have an athlete in the boat with a visual impairment, then the coxswain has to cox differently, just a little bit, just to make sure that they know what's going on, because it's not as intuitive as just seeing outside the boat about what's happening, you know. So
yeah,
lots of fun things to think about.
So what's the biggest crowd you've ever rowed in front of then? Was it in the Rio Paras, or have you rowed with a big crowd anywhere else?
I mean, honestly, I think the biggest crowd I've ever rowed in was the head of the Charles.
Whoa, yeah,
because there's like thousands of people that come through and they just line, and it's like, you know, 4,500 meter course, and so just lined with people. Like, in, you know, the city of Boston grows like 10 times the size of that weekend. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. I like rowing in front of people, but it's always nice because my mom has come to every race that I've raced, which is so sweet. My family is so sweet. But she's been able to come every time. And she has this whistle, this very distinct whistle that she's been, you know, whistling to us, you know, since we've been playing out in this under the street lights as kids and stuff, for us to come home, it's dinner time or whatever, whistling at basketball games. And whenever I come down to like the last 300 meters, I can always hear it no matter where I am. So that's always been something that's been like a nice consistency in all my races. So
did you row in a special international para crew in the head of the Charles? Did I get that right?
Okay, yes. And we also had James Fox from GB rowed in 2016. Wow. And we had some athletes from Canada row with us as well. In 2016, we rowed in an 8. We call it the Para Grade 8, and it was super fun, and we won, and it was awesome.
Wow.
It was really, really cool. And we rowed, it was not in a para category. It was in an open category, and it was great. Yeah, it was very cool.
Wow, that's amazing. Marco, who's watching, has just given us this information. Marco knows most things in rowing. In a survey we did, it showed a strong resistance of the open rowers to do mixed boats in both females and males. I'd say, well, that's quite an interesting survey result. Probably born more out of fear than anything else. I think now that I'm not rowing internationally, I'm really quite open to mixed boats, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's totally fair. Like, I think everyone's totally entitled to their own opinion and what they want to do and what they don't. But I mean, I think that either way, it's fun. Like, whether you have a male or female or all females in your boat, if you can figure out how to gel together, that's what ultimately matters. And yeah, that's what I think. So
yeah, I think that too.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you, Dani, about Hydrow, because I've seen the machine. I've sat on it once. I think we had a conference.
Was it comfy?
Yeah, it was comfy, and I like the screen. But for people that don't know, tell us what it means to be the lead athlete for Hydrow. Tell us about what Hydrow is and why it's an exciting development.
Yeah, so I actually started working with Hydrow in 2018. The first video ever filmed, January 2018.
Wow.
I was the
Why
fourth
did they
person.
choose you? I mean, I think I know why they chose you. Listening to you talk, do you know why they chose you?
I worked the CEO Bruce Smith. We've known each other from CRI because he used to be at CRI, and I have a lot of trust in him. I feel like he's brilliant, and if there's anyone's going to be able to get something done like this, it's definitely him. And I was like, oh, I'm all in. I'm a big fan of being like, what do you need from me? I will 100% give that to you. Like, what is it that you need? What's the end result look like in your head? I will make it happen. Like, whatever you need. And he invited me to Florida in January 2018 and said, I'm making some some rowing videos. Like, would you like to help out? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And came over and filmed a video. He just said, all I said was, just pretend like there's people watching this and walk them through this workout. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And I was actually working at a spin studio at the time. As a janitor, as a janitor.
Wow.
And so I could hear the spin instructors, you know, instructing the classes, and we had some really good ones in Seattle. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to kind of, you know, bring that element into this. And so I just was like, I just filmed a video, and he liked it so much that he offered me to work there. I said, sure.
Wow.
I said, yeah, it sounds awesome. So yeah, I moved out here in April 2018 to start working, and yeah, it was really cool. It was really, really cool. And he was like, I just need workout videos. And I was like, what do you need them to? And he's like, nope, you got this. And I was like, okay. So figured out how to make them and what they should look like and stuff like that. And it was just really fun. I mean, we have such a great team there. It's really cool to have so many people, just like a lot of trust all around, which is kind of similar to what it takes to be in a boat, you know, like you really got to trust your teammates and trust that, you know, when you take a stroke that everyone's going to follow, you know, and it works out like that. So, and it'll have your back. Yeah.
So tell us about the machine, like, because most people watching will be familiar with, you know, a Concept 2 type rowing ergometer. How's it different to that, and what's the idea behind it?
Yeah. So, it's very unique because it has, we're the only, I think, rowing connected fitness machine with live outdoor reality. So we film live, we film on waterway, and that's sent straight to your screen in real time. So you can actually be on your Hydrow looking at the screen, rowing with us while we are anywhere in the world on a waterway rowing at the same time. So I think that's one of the coolest things. It really, you really feel connected to people when you know, hey, you're with me and I'm on the water right now. It's really cool. But yeah, I mean, we have, it's a connected fitness, you know, rowing machine, and you can have, there's just like so many, there's so many workouts on there. You can open it up and you can say, oh, I feel like doing anything, and you'll find it on there. There's so many. And we have all these different athletes. Mike Dostal, who was on the GB rowing team, is one of our athletes. He's amazing. He's awesome. We have lots of different athletes, and we also have yoga and Pilates and functional movement. Our two-time Olympian from bobsled, Peter Donahoe. He is so cool. He does functional movement, and he's awesome. Yeah. So there's lots of different things for whatever kind of workout you're looking for. And if you want to, you know, make friends, follow people who you see on the leaderboard often, and just get more in touch, then you can choose to follow people, their leaderboard names, and get on rows with them and create teams. It's really awesome. Yeah.
So we were talking before we went live about some of the filming that you've done in the UK on two of the roughest stretches of water, which it shouldn't be possible to row.
We do that sometimes. We'll go to places that everyone's like, you're not, no one's allowed to row there, or no one's able to row there. It's impossible. It's rough water. And we're like, yeah, figure it out. We'll figure it out. We will figure it out. Absolutely. So we do that often. It's a staple, you know, but yeah, we went to the UK and we got to row by the House of Parliament, by the London Eye, through the Tower Bridge, and we went to Scotland and rowed on Loch Ness. And
that's so cool.
It was the coolest. I remember being in the 3rd grade reading for the first time about Loch Ness and being like, I'm going to go there someday. And so when we arrived and when we went through the lock, we went through the lock and we were on the water. I was overwhelmed. It was so cool. It was like a little, you know, my little 3rd grade dream come true. It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that must be a fantastic job for somebody who's involved in international rowing and you know, supported and sponsored or works for, an organisation selling rowing machines. I can't think of a more perfect marriage.
Dream job.
Yeah,
absolutely, dream job.
and how is Hydrow doing? Is it hitting targets? Is it doing well? What's the deal with it?
I'm more on the film side, so I deal mostly with just like the content and stuff like that. But I think everyone's feeling really good about our work and what we're trying to do. So I think that's going well. Yeah.
Okay. So I think one time where you must have been feeling really good was back in 2018. Where was it? You and Jacqueline Smith in the pair?
Yes.
Yeah. Where you? It was. I think that was maybe the first time that we had a PR3 women's pair in the World Championships.
Yes.
How did that feel to row that race and come home with the gold medal?
I think that race was definitely one of the most special that I've been in, just personally. Jacqueline and I call her Jackie or Jack,
yeah.
but she didn't like it so much, so we should all call her Jacqueline. But her and I have been on the team together since 2014, just really going through a lot and getting each other through a lot of stuff and having a lot of experiences together, which were just awesome. And when they came out with that and announced that event was going to be happening, we both were like, we have to do it. And so, excuse me. So we trained, all summer with Adrienne Martelli, who was also on the U.S. team for the open team. And she worked with us, all the time. It was awesome. And we went there, and it was actually uncontested, ended up being uncontested because the other teams ended up having to drop out for multiple different reasons. So we did join the C final for the women's open pair.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because I was like, we have to, like, our coach and everyone, we were all in agreement. Like, we have to do something phenomenal today. Whether we win or not, it has to be amazing. And I think we can do it. And so, it's not often or ever that you have a para boat going up against an open team at a world championship. So we were like, we have to really represent the para sport today. Like, that's what has to happen. It's not as much about the medal as it is about that. And so we went out there, and my mom said everyone's jaws dropped because they the buzzer went off, and we just booked it off of the start line. Wow. And we were first through the 500. We were gassed. Gassed, but we're like, we got to hang on. We're like, we just made it through first off the line, first through the 500. And I remember getting through and looking, because I was bowing and steering at the time. And I looked, and I was like, we are ahead. In my head, I was like, we are winning, right now. And then, and then everyone walked through us or whatever, because, but that medal is like, it was uncontested, but it was like the most contested of any, any event that I've been in. And I think that medal means a lot to me for sure. And we still have the world record, for that event, today. So that's pretty cool too.
That's a great story. And you were very close. I remember that year, the final of the PR3 Cox 4 was probably the tightest it's been over 2K between you and the British.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah. That year was hard. That was a hard loss as well that year. But I think every race has its challenges, and you can only learn from them and then move on, the next time.
Yeah. I guess thinking about you, and you talked about being in an ideal position in terms of, your work and ideal for where you're rowing is that you could be in the sport as an international para athlete for a long time.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't catch that question. I think you cut out a little bit there.
Sorry, I was just thinking that you could be. I was thinking firstly about the Paris Paralympic Games, and I'm thinking, well, she's definitely going to be there for that. And then I'm thinking, well, she could be in this sport for a long time, even for the games in Los Angeles in 2028.
Yeah, I haven't thought so much about after this yet. I feel like it was funny because I didn't even think about, like, when I was even when I was in Rio, I wasn't thinking about anything after Rio. It wasn't until the closing ceremonies in Rio when they showed the for lack of a better word, hype video for Tokyo.
Yeah.
That I thought, I saw that and I was like, oh, I have to go there. So I think the goal and all my thoughts right now are just being put into Tokyo and seeing how I feel after that, for sure.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself off the water, Dani. What kind of person are you off the water? What are you into? What do you like doing?
I love my family so much that whenever I have any off time, I do everything that I can to fly over and get to hang out with them in California. Because I'm across the country right now.
You've got sisters, right?
I do. I have 4 sisters. There are 5 of us. We're very tight, very close. Yeah, and I miss them all the time. I miss them now. My little sister, actually, one of my little sisters, her name's Dana. She's coming to visit me before going to Tokyo. She's so excited. She called me and she was like, I just bought my ticket. And I was like, oh. So yeah, I'm very pumped to see her. But yeah, big family person over here. My family is very close and they all are still in California, and I just love to go see them whenever I can. I think in the middle of training, it's very difficult to have a ton of other hobbies because I want to conserve all my energy and just put it all out there on the water. But yeah, so any of my other hobbies, I play the guitar sometimes a little bit.
Oh wow.
It's also like good therapy for my hand. So that's always really fun and stuff.
What's your favorite thing you like to play on the guitar?
Just like easy songs. Any easy songs are just really fun.
3-chord songs.
Yeah. So like basically anything that's like Taylor Swift. Or anything you can just find. I like finding like songs on the radio that are a little slower that I can kind of go, and even if they're a little bit more complicated, you can pick it up a little bit easier stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not super good at the guitar. I just it's a lot for physical therapy for my hand and just for fun. So
yeah. I guess one of the things most athletes would have had to deal with adversity. I guess more so in para perhaps than open, but maybe that's not necessarily the case. But what have you learned about yourself in terms of dealing with adversity throughout your life or career as an oarswoman?
Yeah, I think that one thing is it's very easy to look at someone who has a disability and agree with the science that says that they can't get better or that they can't adapt to do something because no one's ever done it before or stuff like that. And I think that just learning to tune that out and make those decisions for myself has been a learning process and something that my mom has really encouraged. My family and my parents have really encouraged me to do since I've been young. It's just like, it doesn't matter if, doctors obviously thank goodness for doctors. But sometimes it doesn't matter if they say it's unlikely for you to be able to do something or not, or if coaches say, well, maybe you shouldn't do that or not, or just people, and sometimes it's always better to kind of make those decisions for yourself and make sure that any doubts you have or any courage you have comes from here and not from anywhere else, because you don't want to depend on depend on people to tell you can do something in order to get it done, So I think that's something. I feel like with my disability specifically, it's a bit more subtle than other disabilities. And so there's sometimes been people who will find out that I'm in the Paralympics and they will be like, well, what's wrong with you? It's like, well, you can ask that in a nice way.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's any athlete who goes to the Paralympics who has a problem with someone asking them what their disability is. But when there's a look of disgust on your face and that can get a little bit awkward, I think. And so sometimes I'm just like, they just don't know, and that's okay. It's okay. And I think that outlook has been helpful because it's like, you don't always know what is going on with people. You don't know if they have a disability or if they have something else unseen that they're dealing with, but just treating people like you don't know everything about them. I think that's a nice way to go about talking to people, like everyone has something they're dealing with. So
that's true.
Be kind to each other. And that's just kind of what my parents taught me. So I like to keep that going.
I think that's one of the things we've learned from, talking to a few of the people on Crossy's Corner over the last year or so is that, elite athletes do have to deal with a lot, sometimes it's plain sailing, but for others it's not. And dealing with adversity is part of the package of being in top sport at that level.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to ask you about the US Olympic teams and what you thought, how you thought they might do in Tokyo, Dani.
Oh, they're all going to win. USA all the way. I have full belief in my teammates. I think they're going to crush it over there. I think they work really hard. Everyone works really hard. But I have full belief in my teammates, and I know they're going to put it all out there, and they're going to come home knowing that they did everything they could. And I think that's going to be really awesome. I'm looking forward to watching them throw down on the water for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited about seeing how fast the women are. I think particularly after, I guess a less, they didn't win the gold medal, I guess, in terms of the 2019 Worlds. But and I know they've had COVID to deal with a long time ago, but, so they're back on their feet now. I think that's going to be quite a strong story going into Tokyo for the women. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard anything about their camp and how well they're doing.
Well, I think they're doing well. I think one thing with like COVID, it's really cool actually, because I feel like when you're faced with adversity, you can go two ways. You can either just, okay, well, this is happening and there's nothing I can do about it, or you can over prepare. And I think that every single one of our teammates here took that second mentality where they're like, well, now I have to go twice as hard and now I have to figure it out. And now I have to, and just kind of like adapting. So maybe they're a bit more adaptive like us. Maybe we have a little bit more in common than we think. But I think they've done really well. And I think they're very prepared, and I have every belief in them to do well.
And I'm really excited to see how fast the men's 8 are, because I know that Mike Tatey's put a lot of work into selecting that boat. And
I think they're going to be, it's going to be cool. Like, I just think it's going to be cool to watch. I remember in 2016 being at CRI still training, and they just put this huge projector screen down, filled the whole erg room with people, and we all just sat down in the dark and just watched all the races, and it was just so cool. And I'm looking forward to that happening again this year, just like being able to cheer them on and just watch it happen, because they're definitely gonna set the tone and warm the water up for us over there a little bit.
I think what time are the races there for you? Because I know over here they're kind of in the night, sort of,
I haven't looked it up. I think afternoon times, but I'm unsure. Yeah, I haven't looked it up yet. Yeah. Let me know.
I will let you know. Hopefully I'll be out there doing some commentary work out there. But I know that the guys for the BBC, they're not going out there. They're doing the commentary work here, and they're having to work in the middle of the night.
Okay.
So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's something. That'll be fun.
Wow.
Get some coffee ready, huh?
I think that's exactly what they're going to be doing. Dani, I don't know. We've been talking for more than an hour now. I don't know where the time's gone. It's been fantastic to talk to you, particularly on this Independence Day. I know it's a big holiday weekend, but you got to train. You got a couple of sessions tomorrow, have you?
Yep. Just one tomorrow, but yeah.
Oh, just one tomorrow.
They're taking it easy on us on tomorrow, but yeah.
Yeah. So I wish you all the very best in your preparation in the run up to the Paralympics. You know, I'm sure that we're going to be watching that contest between the USA and Britain for the gold medal, and anyone else who's up there for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Never underestimate anybody.
Yeah. And if you want to get a closer look at Dani and listen to the coaching and talk you through some of the sessions, then buy Hydrow and you won't regret it, I guess.
Nope, absolutely not. And if you do, call me. We'll fix it. No problem.
Wow. So we'll end the live part of this broadcast now, just to say goodbye to everyone. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you so much.
See you.
It's been so nice.